Good morning, although this is not an official morning bug video, even though I do have this morning I have a double shot. But this is actually I'm doing an intro to the genealogy video, and finally getting that put out there, recorded a couple months ago. And, it just seemed appropriate to finally put it out there, since this past week was the 4th of July. There was a family reunion in Ohio, first at my aunt's house Friday night, and then Saturday during the day and evening at my parents' house. There were a lot of, cousins and things like that there that I hadn't met or hadn't seen since I was very little. My dad's cousins. And there was a lot of sharing of information about genealogy, about the family history, things like that. So, and it was fantastic. I got to see service records from, my great uncle Charlie, who he was a pilot during World War II, flew B-25 bombers in the South Pacific, and there were photographs there, black and white photographs of the islands, photographs of bombing runs, some pretty cool stuff. So, and we talked about, and in the video I talked about how, I have from my uncles, the Rick Secker line all the way back into the 1500s. And, I've been able to add some different pieces into there. Well, these cousins have, this would be my grandmother's side, my father's mother, which is the Binder side. They have that all the way back into the 1400s. So we're like way, way back in Germany. So my grandfather's side is Swiss, and there's a little bit of Scottish in there. And the Grants. And so there's a rumor that we are related to Ulysses S. Grant on that side. But the Rick Seckers go back into Switzerland. The Binders go back into Germany. And there's some German ties in there with the Rick Seckers as well. So it's like I'm mostly German. I have quite a bit of Swiss in there, a little bit of Scottish, and then my mother's side would be Polish and Hungarian. And I don't have a lot of her line, but we did sit down. My mother and I sat down for a couple hours one night. She was preparing some things Friday night for the next day. And so I had my computer out, we sat down, we were going through a bunch of different things, so I was able to finally fill in a bit on her line as well, which was really great. So, it was a fantastic weekend for that family history, that family genealogy, and so that, kind of a perfect preamble into this particular episode, which I don't really get into too many details about, because I don't want to, throw out a bunch of family stuff, to the public. But I will say this, since I am a ghostorian, dealing with the paranormal, I'd like to try to tie a lot of that back in. As part of my research, because I do get asked a lot, my methods for research, and I do a lot with, going through county records, land records, newspaper archives, a lot of different things like that. Well, family history, genealogy, those type of records, census records, I do use to try to trace back those family lines, get those, family roots, try to discover who may have been living at a house at a particular time, to discover, the source of, the paranormal activity. So, there may be, there may be a story of, we believe so-and-so, is haunting this house, but you find out going through the family history and the family genealogy, well, there were others living here too, so this entity may be one of them, and you try, when you do like your EVP sessions and things like that, start bouncing some of those questions off the spirits to see if, okay, maybe you're this particular person, let's see if we might be able to tie you in here. So, family history and genealogy, family roots, that type of stuff. really does help in that type of paranormal research. So enough with me in my little intro. I'm going to go ahead and get into the video. Here you go.
Hey everyone, welcome to another one of my video blogs. I'm author and ghost story. I'm Mike Ricksecker. I'm just going to make this one a quick one. It's just going over an interest of mine, kind of delving into the the history aspect of what I do in the research and all that, and the aspect and angle of that for this particular one is family tree, family genealogy. And a lot of this was compiled by my uncles, my Uncle Paul, my Uncle Chuck, who have spent many years, decades, compiling this, and even getting a little bit of information from some distant cousins. The name Ricksecker is Swiss, and basically there is one guy, Peter Ricksecker, that his last name was Rugsecker, came over through Philadelphia, and they Americanized his name to Ricksecker. And basically anybody with that last name are all descended from him, because that's the only variation of that name, that change that was made. But it's really kind of interesting. I like kind of going through here and seeing how one person begat another and begat another. Some interesting notes here, like a William King Ricksecker. He was a very prominent person around the Cleveland area during his time. One of the Freemason buildings, the one in Aurora, is basically named for him, W.K. Ricksecker Lodge. A lot of people say that there's a Scottish side, Clan Grant, and there are a number of people that have said that President Ulysses S. Grant is a second cousin down that line. So I'm still looking to confirm that, but I kind of don't doubt that. Something that is kind of interesting about the line, and that is in here, which, I mean, I know you really can't see it, or if I went to that side, I know you can't really see it, but there's a Maryland faction of the Rickseckers, even though a large group of them moved out to the Ohio area, but they did come through Pennsylvania down into Maryland, where Peter, the second Peter Ricksecker, married Elizabeth Krieger, and this was in the what's the Thurmont area now. The Grayson Moravian Church was the congregation that was they helped found there. So and I've gone out there before and checked out some of those different headstones. Very cool if you can do that, if you can get back to your ancestors, because we're talking like mid 1700s. The Rickseckers came over here late 1600s, so we've been around here a long time. Another cool, interesting note was the family that ended up moving out of Maryland, which was the patriarch of that family was Johannes, or John Ricksecker. Ended up moving around the Mansfield, Ohio area, Ontario, and he actually helped with the Underground Railroad through there and helping bring slaves up out of the South. So that's a very cool note. And of course, very close personal dear ties to my grandparents and close family that I've known over the years down that line. So one of the interesting things that's kind of occurred lately, even though it's kind of a more sad note, I was just recently through Ohio, and my mother had a photo album that one of my uncles on her side had put together, and so there were a lot of photographs in there of my grandfather. He passed away on that side back in 2006, so I got to see a lot of young photographs I hadn't seen before, a lot of photographs of my aunts and uncles that I hadn't seen before, and there were 10 on that side. And then my grandmother, who I had never met, so I got to see a lot of photographs of her, so that was very interesting. And then on my father's side, my grandmother had passed away this past fall in October, and so there are a lot of different photographs and photo albums and things like that that were out that, you know, things that I hadn't seen before of, you know, family and people gone by, and my grandmother as, you know, a little girl, and then again aunts and uncles, 9 on that side, that I hadn't ever really seen young pictures of. And so, you know, that's something that I just love to, you know, really dive into. And you know, just I know it's kind of odd saying keep current on, but you know, there's a lot to be learned from, you know, family genealogy and where you're from and what your past is and where your ancestors are from. I mean, they've got this all the way back to the 1500s in Switzerland. That's crazy. Some other lines are not as well fleshed out, but yeah, they've got the Rick Secker line back to the 1500s. It's kind of crazy, but it's interesting and cool, and you'll learn, you know, more about history and you know, why those ancestors of yours may have moved from one place to another and what the culture was at the time. So you know, I'm really happy that my uncles were able to put together a lot of that, and you know, over time, it's, I guess, kind of getting handed down to me. You know, I've been keeping track of a lot of it. I've made some different excursions and stuff that they haven't, like to that Moravian cemetery, and you know, taking photographs of the headstones out there, and you know, things that they hadn't done yet because they just hadn't been through those areas, and they've certainly done a lot, especially my Uncle Chuck, because he's actually gone to the place where we were, you know, originally from in Switzerland. So I'd love to make that trip one day. So that's it. This was just a quick, you know, genealogy vlog, and you know, kind of, you know, again, one of the things that I like to do as far as researching history, there's a personal aspect to researching history as well.
One additional thing that I wanted to throw in there about doing research, okay? Utilize your library. Seriously, a lot of libraries, unbeknownst to you, have electronic collections and resources that you can search through. And one of them, many times, is Ancestry.com. You know, they'll have a subscription for that, or other things like Heritage Quest and things like that. I used to work in the IT department of Howard County Library here in Maryland, and the Ancestry.com access, you had free reign over it, you know, whatever you wanted to do, using your library card, your library card number, as long as you were in the library. Okay. There was also, and it still exists because I've used it from time to time, Heritage Quest, which gives you access to different things like you know, census records, and you know, things like even some historic books, directory listings, things like that. That one you do not actually have to be sitting in the library for. You can access that one from online at home, as long as you have your library card number. That particular library system, unfortunately, has those resources buried within their site. Didn't used to be a long time ago, and then somewhere along the way, management said, well, you know, put it on this page, but you have to go through like 3 pages to get to it. So this is kind of unfortunate, because they actually pay a lot of money for those subscriptions and that access. So, of course, every library is different. Every library has different resources that they pay for. So I'm not guaranteeing that your library will have it, but check it out. They might, and if so, then you know, that's a resource there that you don't actually have to pay for because your library is paying for it, as long as you have you know, your library card. So I guess that's gonna wrap it up for this one. I hope that, you know, through my genealogy lore and my own stuff, that you were able to get a little bit of additional information on that, as far as like, you know, resources and things to check out and stuff like that. Hope a little bit of it was helpful. You know, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave some comments below if you have some additional feedback or other suggestions and ideas as far as genealogy and even in relation to paranormal research. And by all means, if you have not yet, please subscribe. Until next time.